Welcome back everyone, Ronin here, and this is my part 1 that I had lost. Essentially, I'm recreating it to help give some of you the basics of how to play Xcom. Now, you can combine that with my fight that I tried to describe as best I could. This time I won't lose the audio. So here I'm just going to describe the basics and then tie that up with my part 2 that shows what I did in combat, and hopefully it'll give you a really good idea. And considering that a lot of people are apparently struggling with this game, I hope that it will make you enjoy the game a bit better once you understand how the game works and how the mechanics kind of work. So we'll start with the basics. Movement. You get 2 AP per turn per soldier. Some skills will change how those values are used. The general idea is you use 1 point to move anywhere in a blue area. Doesn't matter if you move only half of it or the full movement value, it's 1 point. Now if you go and decide to move on the same move in one fluid motion to a dashing location inside the yellow area, you use both your moves. The benefit to a dashing move is it lowers your chance to get hit if an enemy would be on Overwatch. So there's some applications to do this if you're trying to free up a soldier that you know is an enemy in Overwatch. You just want to run back to high cover. But generally this is a fairly rare move unless you're just trying to catch up and you know it's a safe path to take. The other main one to understand is cover. If you look at anywhere where there's cover and there's half a shield, that's low cover. If you look anywhere that has a full shield, full cover. Now, the best way to understand how cover works is that it's 180 degrees. So if your line is here, this line here, and you're behind this cover, doesn't matter how far the person is, as long as they are above that line, as long as they are anywhere forwards of it, you're behind the full cover. Now it may sound stupid sometimes, because if you're standing here and the enemy is here, he cannot flank you. It might look like he's flanking you, he cannot. He would have to be on this tile. So you need to know this, because when you're trying to flank and you're like, oh, this should be a flanking move. Let's say the enemy is here, and cinematically you look here like, oh, that's not so bad, it's a pretty good angle. He's still behind cover to you. You would have to move to this, like this spot here, in order for him to be flanked. Now, there's a few exceptions. When you are behind cover, let's say this one here, it's one large shield, and then there's no large shields on either side. This means you can sidestep for that line of sight. So you need to understand this, because sometimes you'll try to make a move and there'll be multiple shields, like here. You cannot sidestep from here. You can only sidestep from here to take that shot of anything along this line or that you'd be able to see over there. So you essentially have more line of sight advantage from the sidestepping. If you're behind half cover, you can't sidestep. This is your position. Although you can see above those 2 areas. If you were to move here, you cannot see above this one here. So anything past that sea container you won't see. You'll see down the line here, but you won't see like the alley, you won't see anything behind it if you're positioned over there. So okay, let's talk about cover values. The way it works to land a hit, it's based off your offense, which is your aim. Your aim is your chance to hit something that has a 0 value. So right now, if I were to attack something in the open, I would get a 68% chance to hit it. Defense is subtract, basically you take aim minus defense gives you a chance to hit. So if I were to have more defense, it would lower the chance to hit or get hit. Cover does not provide you damage reduction, it's just a chance to hit. You can still take full damage if you're behind a full cover and it's a lucky hit. Trust me, you can get killed with a 1% chance to hit. So push F1 gives you your information screen. You can use that when you're targeting an alien too, and you'll get more information out of it, which is handy. So for this purpose, we have 0 defense in the open. So I'm going to leave him right here in the open. Still 0. I'm going to take this person, move her here, half cover. Okay, this is the Long War. The Long War has some changes. If you were playing normally, this should be 20, not 30. But the general idea is pretty much the same. I think it's because it's also on normal. On Classic, I'm pretty sure it's 20, not 30. But the idea is the same. You would take your 70 minus your 30, and then you would only have a 40% chance to hit this person. Now, this is if you're targeting an enemy that you factor in the defense, not your defense. This would be if the enemy has 70, you have 30 defense, they have a 40% chance to hit you. Hopefully it removes confusion. And I'm going to take this person, and I'm going to go to full cover. Now I might spawn an enemy. On full cover, here it says 45. In vanilla version, if that's the one you're playing, it's going to be 40. So it's double the other one. So in the long war, they almost made half cover a bit more worth it than in vanilla. In vanilla, don't use half cover. If you're using half cover, you're only using it to get to full cover. Don't take shots from half cover. It's very risky unless you can guarantee the enemy's not going to take a shot off you. Especially some enemies have really good aim. So the only time you really want to be taking shots is from high cover. So this would be like, I have a fire base. You know, here I'd be overwatching, taking care of the enemy that would pop up. Now the problem I would have is, let's say this is how far I can get and there's enemies around. I don't really like this cover, and since we're talking about cover, I'm going to throw a smoke grenade. Now the smoke grenade, in this case, usually it's 20 that it would add to your value. So it's essentially making you into low cover from nothing. So this guy that was in the open, he has defense 20. Not bad. Now it's like, oh, it's almost like he was in low cover. So if you're stuck in the open, there's an enemy looking at you, there's nothing you can do, you can use smoke grenade. Or if you're stuck in an area where there's only low cover, now you're essentially in high cover. These guys are at 50. 50 is not bad. It's better than high cover because of the long war. So you could take shots from an area where this is the only cover you have for 1 or 2 turns. I think it's 2 turns. You'll be safe-ish. Now, 65 is a person in high cover. Odds of getting hit are very low if you're behind high cover and smoke, which is nice. It's very handy, and this is something you should know. The way Hunker Down works, I put this one that over here, it's not behind smoke. You know that she doesn't get the smoke benefit because the green chevron here, the arrow up, indicates they have a beneficial buff, which is the smoke right now. She doesn't. So if I push F1, 30 defense. If I push F1 on this one, 50. But they're behind the same amount of cover, it's the smoke. The big change is, and I forgot to put somebody in Hunker Down before putting them in smoke. What Hunker Down does is it doubles your defense value you receive from cover. It won't boost your base defense. So if I hunker down this person, and I check at her values again, she's now at 60. It doubled the low cover value, which essentially puts her into... In vanilla, it will put you into high cover. So it helps. And you can't get crit if you do get hit, as long as you're not flanked. Problem is, hunker down, you can't see outside this area. So you will lose sight of the enemy if they are moving around and there's nothing you can do about it. So you have to go find them again if they ended up moving somewhere else, and it could be trouble because they will try to flank you. Now, this person, what I wanted to show is if you hunker down then throw a smoke grenade, you won't get the bonus from the smoke grenade due to hunker down. So if I check over here, the hunkering down actually factored in the smoke and then added it to the multiplication, like it doubled the smoke also. So now she has 100. Chances are she's not getting hit. She'll have 1% unless the enemy has over 100% chance to hit, or 100 aim. And then if I use it on my full cover person, which is 65, 65 is pretty good. Like, odds are you're not getting hit. Most enemies probably have a 10-15% chance to hit if they're really good at aiming. Well, some may get up to 35, but... So, if I hunker down with this one, 130, you're not getting hit. Well, you have a 1% chance to get hit. So eventually, it will fail, mathematically, and if you're playing XCOM, I would recommend follow Murphy's Law. If it's a possibility it's going to happen, it's probably going to happen. And we're talking about negative things here. If it's a possibility you can hit something, you're probably not going to hit it. Use those rules and you'll be fine in XCOM. To use Hunker Down, you have to be behind cover. It would be useless to double your defense when you have 0, so they don't allow you to use Hunker Down in smoke. So you have to be behind cover in order to use it. If you were to move once here, I could take an action, I could shoot, I can, in this case, steady my weapon, and then overwatch, throw a grenade, whatever. If I were to move again, it is not a dashing move. Dashing move has to be done in one fluid motion. So if I move again, it's just a regular move. So that pretty much covers how cover works. Okay. At the end of the round, always listen for the enemy. That's a floater. Learn their noises so you know what to expect and how to prepare for it. If I were to move here, let's say, there's 2 shields and it forms a corner. Basically, if you were here, you would receive low cover bonus from everywhere this way, so 180 this way, and then 180 this way. The only way you can get flanked is from anything down here, which leaves a 90-degree angle of where you are vulnerable. Because if they were to go over here, even though you're behind, so you're technically flanked for this axis, you're not flanked because of this one. So it's good to know sometimes how to get maximum protection for your guys. Especially so you don't want to get flanked. Flank increases your chance to get crit, chance to hit. It's very bad. And then with the same reasoning for this corner, now you have 180 from the top. That is all high cover, so you get an even higher chance to dodge the attack. Now, when we were talking earlier about high cover and line of sight, if I were to move here, essentially, I would see nothing past that 180. I wouldn't see anything above in front of me. I would only see left, right, and back. So you need to know this because the enemy also won't be able to see you. It's the same reason why you can't see inside this room right now. It's because you have 1, 2, 3 in a row. You can't see past that wall. But if you see here, you can see past a little bit farther. So if I were to move, I'll just move somebody here. I might pull combat, but it's not a big deal right now. It's not what I'm doing this for. So if you see this person managed to see pretty much everything here. I mean, probably stops right on here. But you can see inside, but you can't see past these 2 walls because it's just how it works. If you picture out your arc, if it was light cover like this, you'd see right over it. So you need to learn this because if you try to approach, and let's say you think there's an enemy here, because if you throw a battle scanner, and these are really handy, the enemy won't detect you from you throwing a battle scanner. I'm hoping I detect something. Nothing. But you see, even the battle scanner has to follow these rules. So anything from this point where it's supposed to see, and it's behind a high cover, it will not see. If it's below a low cover, it kind of sees, but there's also a dead ground from 1 to 2 squares after a drop that you can't see. So if you were trying to sneak up on an enemy, like let's say I'm thinking the enemy's there, probably is at this point. If I move over here, it will spawn them. If I move over here, it won't. Shouldn't. Okay, well, the angle. Bad example. But guaranteed, if I would have moved here, I would have seen them. Or they would have seen me too. So technically, he doesn't see them, they don't see him either. And that's really important to understand what the enemy can see, to know where you can move to help you flank them. If this person here has 45 defense. This guy here has 45 defense. But the enemy can't see him. If they can't see him, that means they can't shoot at him, which essentially means it's 100% defense. If they can't shoot at you because they don't see you, they can't shoot at you. They don't cheat like we do. They don't throw explosives because they think that the enemy is still in that area. So that's one good thing to note. Now at the same time, if I move this person here, he won't see them, they don't see him. So you have to learn how to position yourself, because if I was like, okay, I gotta kill this one, it's in the air, sure, I'm gonna move here and shoot it. Well, no, you can't. You can't see it. So there's a few applications for this that can be really handy. If you have an assault with close quarter specialist, where anything in 4 tiles will get hit, you can move him to where this guy is right now. And if you look, 1, 2, 3, 4, anything that would move here would get hit. Well, now the enemy doesn't, because the enemy can't see him on their turn, they don't know he's there. Now it could be challenging because sometimes they'll see, well, this is the only place, so they'll move to the corner. It may not actually work, and I'll explain why right after. But as soon as they look and they're going to try to move up, let's say here, any enemy that moves up is going to get shot by that assault. And I did some playing with that in one of my maps, and I'll post it. It was involving crystalids. They didn't know he was there, I guess. They have to move in melee, so they kept getting shot by my assault. So the enemy's going to do the same as you. Like, if you were to try to move, you know, you want to get over there, but you don't see, you're going to move probably here to get good cover and not move up too far to get shot at. So you always want to go, like, you're going to move from cover to cover to cover. The enemy does the same thing. And so that can affect your ability to use Overwatch properly, because the way Overwatch works is you have to be able to see the enemy move from one tile to another tile that you have eyes on. So let's say this person was in Overwatch and I want to walk away. I can move back to where this guy is, if he wasn't there, and not get shot, because it sees me here, sure, but doesn't see here. So sometimes when you know this, then you can effectively move out of Overwatch and negate what Overwatch actually does. It's supposed to give you a free hit or a free attack. So if you can understand line of sight, you can plan for your Overwatches and countering Overwatch at the same time. So if you know there's somebody right here that's in Overwatch, and you're like, well, how do I deal with this? You can potentially move right here and shoot them. You're still going to be behind high cover, but in this case you could throw a flashbang. So the enemy doesn't see you by sound, only by sight. So understanding line of sight is a pretty big deal. Let's cover a bit about squad sight. Squad sight is what makes snipers really good. And you know squad sight is active because of the crosshairs. So she essentially can shoot at this one even though it's farther than her sight. And that's the big draw for snipers right now. So she still gets a 70% chance to hit it. The reason for that is because he can see it. These two can't see it. She may be able to see it, yeah. So because these two see it, she could essentially take a shot at it. Problem you may encounter is, let's say she was more like here, she would be blocked by this. You still need to have line of sight on that enemy to be able to shoot it. Now we can test it out. Pretty sure if she came here, she no longer sees it, so she can't shoot it. Even though other people see it, squad sight is really, it's really good to understand squad sight for that reason, to be able to place your snipers properly. Sometimes it'll be so stupid, there's a tree in your way from the target, and you're like, oh yeah, it's pretty open, and all of a sudden, no, it's not. See how he basically flanked? He went past that 180, and she's in the open. Surprised none of them died. So that group of floaters right now, I can see it. Technically, I don't think they see me. I think the beacon maybe was left there. So they didn't pull, and the reason I know they're not pulled is because they're stacked on top of each other. Let's test it out. Now, because I somehow have sight on them, she can see them. So with squad sight, oh, 75% chance to hit one of those over there. And the only reason is because she has line of sight on them. So if I shoot, I would have had to hit them to pull them. Nope. See how they went to Overwatch? Now they are pulled. Whenever you pull an enemy or encounter an enemy on your turn, they cannot attack you, or should not be able to attack you. They can either do like they did, Overwatch, or they can move into cover. So they'll get one free move for cover. So it's really important to know this when you're trying to pull enemies. So right now she is flanked because he's right there. If she moves that one, I don't think he's in Overwatch, but if she moves that one, he wouldn't be able to attack her, I don't think. The only reason why she won't be in cover is because of that 180. If you see here, there's a red shield, she will be in a position of being flanked because of that full cover for anything in front of her. And because where she is, Even though she still sees him, he still sees her. All of this here stops line of sight. These guys can't hit her. Now they'll probably move here, and then they'll be able to see her once they're here. Okay, in this case, I'm gonna run and gun. But for here, because technically if you're just shooting straight line, you wouldn't be able to see him. So it allows you to sidestep, or actually I can shoot him, it's just not a flanking move. And I can shoot him because it's a sidestep for me, and technically a sidestep for him. So let's try that, because the other one is flanked. So cinematically it makes no sense. But if you understand the sidestepping, that's how it works. And the only reason why she had such a high aim is because it's a shotgun at basically melee range. So he can see him, but the reason why it's not a flanked one, it's a flyer. But you see there's two, even though it looks, you only take that side step and you think, oh yeah, it's pretty good. No. You can see him, mainly I think it's because he's a flyer. Let's see where he's standing. If he wasn't flying, you probably wouldn't see him from your angle. I forgot this was an Iron Man game, so that game is ruined. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Hopefully these tips prove useful. I don't think I forgot anything. Mainly, remember line of sight. How to use Overwatch. Yes, that's what I forgot. If you use Overwatch and the enemy sees you use Overwatch, odds are they will not move. They will shoot at you. Now this is a big problem for some people, because it's the same reason why you wouldn't move. If you see he's in Overwatch, you don't want to take a risk of getting hit. You're in perfectly good cover, why would you move? So the same idea for them. So if they see you being taking Overwatch and you have somebody in low cover or for whatever reason, they won't move. They'll just take a shot at you. And that's bad, because that's the chance of you losing a soldier, especially early on in the game. The only reason you would use Overwatch knowing they can see you is because you're trying to flank it with somebody else, and you're trying to keep it there so it doesn't move to another area. So make sure when you use Overwatch that you are using it properly. If you can't get a clear shot, you get like a really low chance to hit. The enemy can obviously see you if you can shoot at it. You're probably better off with hunkering down. If you want to make sure your guy lives, just hunker down, wait a turn, keep trying to flank with somebody else, or move to a better location. Don't bother taking 10, 15, 20% shots. Sometimes 50-50, I take them. You have to be ready to pay for it, because odds are you are going to essentially miss. And if you miss, and for some reason the enemy gets a shot off, you could lose a soldier. So understand how to Overwatch. Don't Overwatch because you have nothing better to do, you don't know what you're doing. If the enemy's active and you just stay out in the open or whatever, learn how it works. So a basic recap of what you should be focusing on. Always be in high cover. High cover is going to be key to allow you to take shots. Try to flank the enemy as much as possible, and don't let them flank you. So understand how the game works. Right now, I don't think I have anybody in a good position to see. I essentially can't see anything here. This is dead ground. There could be an enemy here, and I wouldn't know. So make sure you understand, because that means they could essentially flank you by using this, and you wouldn't even know about it. And the same for you. You could walk around here, and depending on where the enemy is, they can't see you. So understand that. So I covered Overwatch, cover, line of sight, a bit of a trick on Hunkering Down. Hunkering Down is really handy if you have nothing else to do and you're not going to have an effective turn, or you want to get from point A to point B using low cover. Another tip too, always make sure you reload after every fight and every time that you are able to do so. Even if you have only used one round and you've just finished a pull, reload. Be ready for the next pull, because you don't know if you may actually run out of bullets and could cause somebody to die. So that should be the basics that are covered in my part 2. Hopefully you found this useful. Please leave me a comment below if there's anything I may have missed or that you thought was actually really good advice. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.